It happened almost a year ago, during one of my shifts at Walmart. I was 17 back then, working part-time, mostly just stocking shelves and zoning aisles, nothing special, just killing time for a little paycheck. It was a quiet mid-afternoon, that strange in-between hour when the morning rush has ended and the after-school crowd hasn't arrived yet. The store felt half asleep, like it was holding its breath. I was in the school supplies section, fixing up a row of notebooks that looked like someone had torn through them with no mercy, spiral spines twisted, covers bent, chaos. I wasn't really thinking about anything, just moving through the motions, hoping to finish early and clock out before the dinner crowd. That's when I heard it. A soft sound, almost too faint to register over the buzzing lights above. Crying. Not the kind of loud, wailing tantrum you'd expect from a kid. No, this was different. It was quiet, broken, like the kind of crying you do when you're trying not to be heard. It was coming from aisle 14. I peeked around the corner, slow, careful, and that's when I saw him. A little boy, maybe 6, maybe 7, standing near the backpacks, his cheeks flushed red, his eyes wet, and his arms clutched tightly to his chest like he was trying to make himself smaller. I took a slow step forward, didn't want to scare him. "Hey buddy," I said, keeping my voice low and calm. "You okay? You lost or something?" He looked up at me but didn't say a word, just gave the smallest nod, then shook his head, like he didn't even know how to answer. I crouched down a little, not too close, just enough to meet his eyes. And that's when they appeared. 2 men. They came around the corner like they were looking for something or someone. The first wore a faded camo jacket and a trucker hat pulled down low. The second one looked cleaner, like he just stepped off a construction site, hands rough, vest half-zipped. The man in camo pointed, "There you are." The boy didn't move. He didn't even blink. Just stood there, stiff as stone, like his feet were nailed to the floor. The cleaner one smiled, first at me, then at the boy. "We've been looking all over for you, bud. Come on, your mom's waitin' in the car." Something about the way they said it, the way they moved, didn't feel right. There was no panic, no urgency, no sign of relief, just calm, practiced lines. And the kid, still frozen. I looked at him again and asked, "You know these guys?" That's when it shifted. The man in the hat scratched his chin and said, "Oh, we're his uncles. Mom dropped him off while she ran an errand." That didn't sit right with me. I said, "Didn't you just say she's waiting in the car?" There was a pause, not long, but enough. The cleaner one laughed, too easy, too smooth. "Right, yeah, she was out, but she's back now." Still smiling like this was nothing but a misunderstanding. But the boy took a single step behind me, just one, just enough to not be beside them. And right then I knew. I didn't have proof, couldn't explain it, but every part of me screamed that something was wrong. So I smiled and said, "Hey, why don't we head up to the front? We'll page his mom from there." No big deal. The mood shifted fast. The camo guy muttered something low and angry. The other said, "Nah, it's cool. We'll just take him with us." But I stood firm. No offense, but store policy says we take lost kids to the front. It'll only take a second. They didn't like that. The cleaner one stepped forward just a little, just enough to make his presence felt. I said, "It's fine, we're family." And I don't know what pushed me. Maybe instinct, maybe fear, but I reached down and took the boy's hand. He gripped mine tight, like he was afraid I'd let go. I didn't say another word, just turned and started walking toward the front of the store, the kid holding my hand like a lifeline. The men followed, not right behind us, but close enough to feel their breath at my back. The store was quiet, like it had been vacuum sealed, every sound sucked away. As we neared customer service, I spotted Angie, the floor manager, standing near the registers. I caught her eye and gave a slight shake of my head, just enough for her to know something was off. I raised my voice a bit and said, "Hey Angie, can you page for this boy's mom? Says he got separated from her." She looked at the two men behind me and nodded slowly. "Sure thing. I'll call security too, just in case." The word security did it. The men stopped following. They stood near the self-checkouts, whispered something to each other, then, without a word, turned and walked straight out the door. I stayed with the boy. He didn't say much, barely even looked around, just kept holding my hand like it was the only solid thing in his world. A few minutes later, 2 officers showed up. Turns out Angie had already made the call. They took the boy to the back office and I gave my statement. Turns out those men weren't related to him, not even close. His mom had just stepped into the pharmacy, only a few aisles away, and when she came back, he was gone. They think those men had been watching, waiting, maybe even followed them into the store. Security footage showed the men circling aisle 14 3 times before the kid even got there. They had a plan. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't been there, or if I hadn't listened to the warning in my gut. I try not to think about that part, because sometimes horror doesn't wear a mask. It doesn't hide in the dark or scream in the night. Sometimes horror walks under fluorescent lights, smiles too easily, talks too calmly. Sometimes it's 2 men in a Walmart, with a smile that never quite reaches their eyes. I've worked at the same place for over 12 years now. It's not glamorous, never was. Just a small-town Walmart stuck between a gas station and a half-dead strip mall. But it's familiar. You come in, clock in, smile at strangers, clean up messes you didn't make, and go home. Most people don't notice the patterns, but I do. This guy started coming in around mid-January, right around 6:30 every evening. Always alone. No cart, no basket. Just walk straight to self-checkout like it's muscle memory. At first, nothing really stood out. He didn't talk much, didn't cause trouble. But I happened to be on the register closest to the self-checkout screens. And one night I noticed something weird. He scanned a bottle of water. Just one. Then bagged a sandwich, a pack of batteries, a shirt, one of those clearance ones. Never scanned them. Just bagged them and left. I paused, thought maybe the scanner missed them. Or maybe he hit the wrong button. But the next day, same thing. 1 item scanned, 2 or 3 bagged. I kept watching quietly. He never rushed, never looked nervous. He acted like nothing was wrong, like he owned the place. By the 4th day, I said something, told a supervisor, gave them the time, the register number, even what he wore. They nodded, said they'd look into it. But nothing happened. No one stopped him. No one even seemed to care. That Friday, as he walked out, he looked right at me and said real quiet, "Thanks for looking the other way." My heart sank. He knew. I didn't even respond. Just stood there like an idiot while he pushed open the door and walked into the parking lot. That night, I didn't park in my usual spot. I started choosing spots under the lights, closer to the security cameras, just in case. A few days later, I clocked out around 10. The lot was half empty, just a few cars left scattered near the entrance. I got to my car and stopped cold. All 4 tires slashed. Not flattened, slashed, deep, deliberate cuts. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there, breathing in the cold air, looking around. But the lot was empty. I had to call my brother to pick me up. He kept asking who I pissed off. I didn't answer because I already knew. The next morning I came in early, tried to pull up the parking lot footage. That section had a camera aimed right at it, one of the newer ones with night vision. When I asked to see it, the manager brushed me off, said the footage wasn't available. Corrupted, maybe, or deleted accidentally. But that didn't make sense. Our system saves footage for 2 full weeks. It takes someone going in and manually deleting files to wipe them. I didn't say anything, just nodded. But later that week, I slipped into the back office during a shift change. The security terminal was open. One of the older guys had left it running. I knew the login. Most of us did, even though we weren't supposed to. I went back to the night my tires got slashed, scrolled through the footage, and there he was, just standing, behind my car, not moving, for nearly 20 minutes. No phone, no cigarette, just staring. Then, right before the timestamp hit the moment my shift ended, the footage cut off. That wasn't a glitch. Someone made that disappear. I saved what I could on a flash drive and tucked it deep into my coat pocket. Didn't say a word about it, not even to my brother. That night, I barely slept. Every noise outside sounded like footsteps. Every flicker of light through the window made me sit up. At work, I started watching everyone closer. Managers, coworkers, anyone who could have had access to that footage. One day, in the break room, one of the overnight guys, the one who usually cleaned the floors, sat across from me. He kept glancing around before he leaned in and whispered, "You ever wonder why that guy still comes in here?" I didn't say anything, just looked at him. He nodded to himself like he already knew. "Saw him get hauled off a couple years back," he said. "Stole a bunch of electronics, got aggressive with one of the cashiers. She don't work here anymore." Then he added, "Someone up front vouched for him, said he was handled." I didn't ask who. I didn't want to know. I started keeping a box cutter in my pocket after that, and pepper spray in my bag. I changed where I parked, changed when I left. Sometimes I'd clock out early just to avoid him. But he still comes, every evening. Same time, same routine. Scans one item, bags 3, walks out. Nobody stops him. Nobody questions him. And every time he leaves, he looks over. Just for a second. Not long. Just enough to remind me he knows. And the people who are supposed to protect us, they know too. But they'd rather delete a file than confront a problem. Rather let it rot from the inside than deal with the mess. I still work here. Bills don't care about fear. Rent doesn't stop just because you feel unsafe. But every shift, I feel it creeping closer. That sense that I'm not just being watched, I'm being tolerated. And that one day, I'll forget to look over my shoulder. Or I'll park in the wrong spot. Or I'll speak up again. And someone will hit delete. Just like before. Only this time it won't be footage. It'll be me. It happened about 2 months ago, just after 6 in the evening. I had taken my little girl to Walmart. Nothing special, just a quick trip to grab a few things before heading home for dinner. It was still light out, but the sky was starting to dim in that late summer kind of way, where everything gets a bit golden and quiet. The store wasn't crowded, just the usual after-work crowd. We grabbed a cart, I sat her up front, and we started in the produce section. That's when I noticed her. A woman, maybe early 30s, brown hair pulled back, plain clothes. a little too close, but not enough to say anything. At first, I thought maybe she was in a hurry or just navigating around people. But as we moved through the store, aisle after aisle, she kept showing up. We'd leave the cereal section, turn into the toiletries. There she was again. Never picking anything up, never holding a basket, not even glancing at the shelves. Just slowly walking, always within a few feet of us. I felt that creeping tension build in my neck. You know that feeling when your body knows something's off before your brain can explain it. So I started testing it. I turned the cart sharply, skipped whole sections, doubled back. At one point, I pretended to forget something and reversed direction. And she followed. Every time. Still empty-handed. Still just walking. My daughter asked for a juice pouch from one of the lower shelves, and as I bent down to get it, I saw a shadow stop right at the end of the aisle. She didn't say a word, just stood there half behind an end cap of paper towels, staring. That's when I went to customer service. I didn't want to make a scene. I wasn't even sure how to explain it, but I asked for a manager and quietly told them someone had been following us. A man from security walked over with me, polite but clearly skeptical. I pointed her out, not far off, now near the pet food aisle. He walked toward her. She didn't run. She didn't get aggressive. She just smiled. And then she left. He came back a few minutes later and told me she wasn't doing anything suspicious, just wandering the store. I felt like I was being humored. Still, I finished up quickly and went to the checkout. My daughter was getting restless, asking when we were going home. We paid, walked out. It was still warm outside. The sun had dipped just low enough to cast those long shadows across the parking lot. I opened the trunk and started loading groceries, keeping an eye on her sitting inside the cart. And then, a voice behind me said, "She was wandering. I just found her over by the carts." I turned fast. It was her, the same woman, holding my daughter's hand, like it was nothing, like this was normal. My little girl looked up at me, confused, not crying, but not smiling either, just frozen. I don't even remember what I screamed, just that it was loud and raw. I yanked my daughter back so fast she nearly fell into my arms. The woman backed up, still smiling, still calm, and then she walked off. Not ran, walked. Between two rows of cars, head low, like she was just another shopper heading home. I looked around, hoping someone had seen, hoping someone would stop her. No one did. I called the police. They arrived within 10 minutes, maybe less, and took my statement right there in the parking lot. My daughter didn't say much, just kept asking if we were going home now. We were taken back inside while they pulled the security footage. And what they found, she entered the store just a few minutes after we did. No cart, no basket, nothing in her hands. She never picked up a single item. She walked behind us for a while, sometimes just a few feet behind, sometimes 2 or 3 aisles over, but always facing our direction. And then she left. On the footage, she walked calmly out of the store 15 minutes before we reached the parking lot. But here's the thing. She was wearing a hoodie when she left. A different one from what she had on when I saw her by the car. It was unmistakable. Security had no record of her re-entering. No other cameras caught her walking back into the building or the lot. It was like she just appeared again. No one recognized her. Not the employees, not the security team. She wasn't caught. They said maybe she changed clothes in a car nearby. Maybe she looped around the side entrance. But they didn't find anything. and no other cameras caught her walking off the property. Just gone. I tried to ask my daughter if the woman said anything before I turned around. She just shook her head, said she didn't remember, said she just held my hand like she knew me. That night, I barely slept. I sat by her bed until morning, just watching her breathe. I kept thinking, what if I'd taken just one more minute to pack the groceries? What if I'd looked the other way again, just for a second? What would have happened? Sometimes I still check the news, or local crime reports, or those social media pages that talk about strange sightings in parking lots. Nothing. No arrests. No updates. No one else reported anything like it. It was just one of those things that happens and then doesn't, but I still double-check the back seat every time I get in the car. Still park close to the entrance even during the day. And every so often, when I'm walking through a store, I get this sense that someone's behind me. Not close, just there, like a shadow that doesn't quite belong. And I always wonder, is she still out there,